I'm Matt Britton. I'm founder and CEO of Suzy. I've spent my career helping brands understand the new consumer. At first, the new consumer was the millennial, the first generation to grow up with the internet in the household. Then the new consumer is Gen Z, the first consumer to grow up with the iPhone in the household. And now, of course, we have Gen Alpha, who's going to be the new consumer that everyone's talking about and the first consumer to ever grow up with AI in the household. So my career spanned these huge innovations, helping brands really understand them. And today I'm talking about 2025 this year and some of the major trends I see in the marketplace. I give keynotes all around the world, and I have a form factor of a presentation called Trends A to Z, where I go through every letter of the alphabet and I correlate every letter with a trend. I do not have enough time to do all 26 letters today, so I'm going to be giving you an abbreviated version of only 5 letters, randomly selected for me, that I'm going to be going through, and hopefully you guys get some value from this, and we'll just dive in. So thanks again for sticking around for this. So obviously A is AI, and so many people are on stage talking about AI, and there's so many thought leaders. I actually have taken about 95% of my time in running Suzy, which is a 300-person venture-funded software company, to actually be building an AI over the last year. When this ended up being such a big phenomenon, my first instinct was to push it to my engineering team. And when I did so, I was really frustrated with what I was seeing. And ultimately, I came to the conclusion that it wasn't really just about cramming AI into everything we do. It was really about figuring out the biggest problems that we had and really focusing on those problems, being obsessive about those problems, and ultimately figuring out where AI fits in. And my journey with AI was, before I was going to figure out how to do that for our business, I want to do it for myself. So I have small children. I'm turning 50 this year. One of the biggest problems I have in my life is I want to stay alive for as long as possible. And what I decided to do before doing anything with AI for my business is solve an AI problem for myself, which is staying alive. And anyone that has spent time in AI knows it's really only as good as the data that you put in. And I made the decision that I'm going to be able to take all the data that exists about my body and put into an AI model and actually help use it to help me stay alive as long as possible. So I went through a painstaking process, took about a month, and gathered as much information as I could about my body. 20 years of blood test information, MRI information, X-ray information, information from my doctor, and organized them accordingly by category. And I fed them into a model called a custom GPT, which is basically a version of ChatGPT. It's only fed on my data. And I trained it to act as a world-class doctor from Johns Hopkins University with the core purpose of keeping me alive, and also made sure it understood that it wasn't meant to make me happy, but it was meant to keep me alive. Because a lot of times doctors are afraid to make you unhappy and may not tell you the real truth. And I start to ask it questions like, if I'm going to die at age 55 or 60 or 70, what's the most likely cause? And it told me, and it really freaked me out. And I dug deep. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Why would it be this? Oh, because of this, this, and this. Well, what can I do about it? Do this, this, and this. Well, what doctor should I see? You should see these 4 doctors in this order. Can you give me notices or dossiers to give to each doctor about what you've uncovered? Yes, here they are. Gave them my doctors. Where the hell did you get this from? How did you get this information about yourself? One of them actually then said, can you actually spend some time with me and tell me how to build this for myself? The other 3 blew off AI as some crazy thing, but this is real, right? And once I went through that process, the learnings I got gave me the conviction to build something similar for our business. So I started to think about, what is the blood test and MRI information for our business? And after doing a little bit of research, it became clear to me that the best blood test information and correlation for our business is customer call transcripts. So our company had about 60 people when the pandemic hit. We now have about 300 people. And when the pandemic hit, our whole business started to operate in the cloud, right? And we start to use a tool called Gong, which records all of our conversations with customers and prospects. And after doing a little bit of research, I found out that we had about 20,000 hours of customer call transcripts. 20,000 hours of customers saying how much they love Suzy, why they don't, why they chose us over competitors, why they chose competitors over us. Product functionality they love about us, big gaps that we have. And I took all that information and fed it into a model and started asking it similar questions. What should our strategy be? Where do we need to focus? What's our market opportunity? I then layered that information with information about our customer financial information. So customer A went from $10,000 a month to $25,000 a month. What's the correlation? What did they say in the months leading that made them double their business with us? Conversely, customers that canceled, what did they say that made them actually cancel? And then how can we train our salespeople to have better phone conversations? So this is the roadmap for how companies should be using AI. It's about figuring out the problems that need to be solved. It's not about having you write blog posts. It's about figuring out how to get the information that matters most and feeding it to a model, and now it's really transformed a whole company. This is a whole keynote in its own right, but for the purposes of today, I just want to show you how we're thinking about it, and hopefully it gives you guys a little bit of value versus maybe what you've been hearing at the conference. B stands for the barbell economy. The middle class is eroding in the United States, and there really is only opportunity on two sides of the equation right now, on the luxury side of the equation, on the value side of the equation. Anywhere in the middle, you don't want to be. Right? So the Gap sells $100 jeans, but the reality is there's a booming market for people that want to buy $250 jeans from a boutique in Soho, and there's a booming market for people that want to buy $10 jeans at Walmart. But in the middle, there's really not a lot of opportunity. So you do not want to be selling $100 jeans. And that's really the basis of the barbell economy. So C stands for the creator movement, and my only point in the creator movement is that Gen Z is now the core consumer. As I mentioned earlier, Gen Z, what makes them unique and different is they were the first generation to grow up with the iPhone in the household. Obviously, anyone who has a Gen Z kid knows it's more like an appendage to their body, right? And that is where they're getting information. And when Gen Z is getting information from their phone, what they're looking at is social media feeds, and what's fueling those social media feeds is not traditional media, but it's other people. So where they're getting influence from is full stop from other people, i.e. creators. And really what is mind-boggling to me is why so many brands are still looking at their media planning with more traditional linear media first and then figuring out creators at the end, when Gen Z, who's quickly becoming the CFO of the household, is really just looking at their phone. So understanding the creators that matter for your customers should be in the champagne tower of your media planning at the very top, not at the very bottom. And the brands that realize this the quickest are going to be the brands that are going to be able to really succeed as this new generation comes in. Because as every new generation comes in, again, what differentiates them is the technology that shaped their upbringing. And with Gen Z, it's the iPhone, and that's why it shapes the content that they consume every day. There's actually more letters than I thought here, so I'm just going to skip around because I was told I only have a couple minutes left. G stands for gambling. Just another story. So my father passed away a couple years ago. When he did, I was surprised by how much money he'd accumulated based upon how I saw him living. He would worry so much about parking tickets. He would worry about, the cable company and why there's an extra $3 charge. And it made me feel like he was actually poor. And then when I took over his estate, I realized he wasn't. And he lived completely incongruous to his wealth. And I never really understood it. And I wish I would have asked him about it more when he was alive. And I started to do a lot of research on people from his generation. He was a baby boomer. He grew up with his parents going through the Great Depression and World War II. And for him and other baby boomers, his relationship with money was one of scarcity. Fast forward to the younger generation now. Fast forward to Gen Z. When all the fiscal stimulus came in, the stimmies, right, from the government during COVID, did Gen Z treat their money as one of scarcity? No. It was the exact opposite. It was one of risk. It was one of YOLO. It was game stonks. It was NFTs. It was collectibles. It's all the things that we saw. It's a complete shift, a sea change in terms of how the younger generation deals with money. They look at not spending money as the opportunity. And right now, sports gambling, which has now been legalized in I think 38 states around the country, really is one of very many vices that are impacting young people that fit into their risk-on behavior of treating money as a fuel for dopamine and something that they want to grab onto. I bet on sports all the time and I always lose, right? But I can afford to. But I think it's going to be a growing issue that we're going to see when this is applied. The other thing I'll say is we are about to see the greatest wealth transfer in history as the baby boomers who have saved so much age out and actually give away all their money to this risk-on group, which is going to really drive the economy in the short term. I don't think people realize how much it's going to drive and change spending when a generation that's been holding on so tightly to money gives it to a generation that so easily risks it and gives it away. And I guess my last my last letter I'll go through today, just given the time, is ours for Ray-Ban Meta glasses. I think out of all the technology here, the next technology you're going to see really capture mainstream adoption and change the way that young consumers interact with media are these smart glasses. One of the beautiful things about something like AI is it doesn't require a change in human behavior. You just talk to it like you talk to anything else. These glasses are the same thing. It doesn't require you to wear goggles which block your peripheral vision. It requires you to wear glasses that many of us already wear. And the advancements that Meta is making, with the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, allow you to essentially use what's called augmented reality, or a digital layer on the world. And the applications in a world where 5G is becoming proliferated everywhere are really fascinating. Think about going through Target and saying, what's the nutritional component of that snack? How much is that house on the corner that I know I can't afford? And having the home price of the home you're looking at be superimposed at what you're looking at. Or maybe one day I'll be able to see all your names through a LinkedIn profile while I'm up here on stage. All that technology is really here right now. And being able to instantly enact a digital layer to your world through augmented reality, through products like this, is already here. And I think it's going to be the next big change in terms of how consumers interact with technology, and ultimately one day could end up replacing the iPhone as the core personal computing modal. So that's all I have for you guys today. Again, this is part of a bigger presentation, but appreciative to the brand innovator teams for having me, and enjoy the rest of CES. Take care.